Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So as it turns out, the early predictions or guesses about Silk joining the contest in the month of July are accurate, and we actually do have the full ability leak. And I must say that on paper she definitely sounds very cool and very interesting. It does, however, all depend on the actual percentage values and the values of her furies and physical vulnerability and stuff like that. But for those of you who do not know, Silk is basically a lady Spider-Man. So we're getting another Spider-Man. Right, so let's actually get into it, break her abilities, and then kind of like go a bit further where she would be useful and stuff like that. So, Silk Sense. Silk has 100% chance to evade special attacks. After triggering or when hit, Silk is critically hit. This effect goes on cooldown for X seconds or until the opponent is struck X amount of times. Take more damage from Silk's physical burst and then ticks down when making a distinct movement, such as attacking, dashing forwards or backwards, or standing up. So they do kind of, this Silk Sense kind of goes away like Spider-Man's webbing as well. Right, so what does that mean? That means you will need to crit her before you can use special attack, and if you do not time your special well, she will have 100% chance to evade it. But it does obviously have ways to basically bypass it with almost all champions, so I'm not like super worried about that ability. But offensively, this could be a great safeguard. So if you're not getting hit in the face, opponent throws special attack, you will auto-evade that. Right, so let's move forward to all attacks. Silk's heightened agility keeps her one step ahead of danger. Incoming ruptures and slows suffer minus X duration. So again, this is super important, because if it's like minus 30% duration, won't matter much. If it's minus 100 or 90% duration, it's going to be a massive, deal. The fact that you can't slow Silk and ruptures, could be pseudo rupture. We just do not know yet. While dodging back, Silk cannot be struck by attacks. She does not benefit from the Dexterity Mastery, but each rank of Dexterity Mastery gives her X critical rating. Quite awesome. I always like these champions a lot. And the fact that she does not benefit from Dexterity Mastery means that she will not be gaining that precision buff, which is super useful in a ton of situations, especially against, power snack nodes or mystic champions. So, Silk's attacks inflict X physical vulnerability debuff for X seconds. Max stacks X. So all of her basic attacks will place physical vulnerability on opponent. Don't know how long they last. Don't know how strong they are. But I do like it. Silk's physical vulnerability debuffs are refreshed when the opponent is struck and removed when the opponent activates a special attack or is knocked down. So she will be able to stack these physical vulnerabilities, quite potently and quickly, because every time you strike them, you gain new one, you refresh the old ones. It will probably in reality look something similar to Black Widow's charges, the way they are like being formed up, but obviously we do not know the potency and effectiveness of them. So, Counter Strike. If the current special attack does not hit Silk or her block, she'll gain a Fury passive. Again, super important to know how potent the Fury passive. If an opponent's entire special attack does not hit Silk or her block, she gains a Fury passive, increasing her attack rating by X for X seconds. Silk's Fury passives are refreshed when the opponent is struck and removed when the opponent activates a special attack or is knocked down. So they will work very similarly to the physical vulnerability debuffs. And super important as to how potent these Fury passives will be. That will entirely depend whether she's high or low damage champion. Heavy attack. While charging heavy attack, if the opponent is within striking distance and suffering from any of Silk's physical vulnerability debuffs, inflict a stun debuff for X seconds. The first hit grants Silk another Fury passive, increasing attack rating for X seconds, max stacks X. Silk's Fury passives are refreshed when the opponent is struck and removed when the opponent activates special attack or is knocked down. So again, another Fury passive, which would be super important to know the value of. But the point here probably would be to kind of do the Mantis thing, where you charge your heavy attack whilst the opponent is passively stunned, gain the Fury passive, and then change into a special attack. Special attack 1, multi-trick melee. The final hit deals a burst of Physical damage, fair enough. And special attack 2. The first hit inflicts Thunder debuff for X seconds, which lowers opponent's critical resistance to 0, I believe. And then the final hit deals a burst of physical damage yet again. And special attack 3. When knocking down the opponent with this special attack, does not remove Silk's active personal effect. So I think this special attack is going to be like super important for like longer fights, because you will be able to keep your passive furies and physical vulnerabilities and keep building them up yet again. Inflict a stun passive for X seconds. While this stun is active, the opponent suffers minus combat power rate, and your combat power rate is increased quite significantly. So yeah, this level 3 does sound quite powerful, which is the only thing that kind of slightly, perhaps, potentially worries me about Silk, because in today's day and age, champions that rely on special 3, 9 times out of 10 will just not be, quick enough for stuff like Battlegrounds. But who knows? Hopefully the level 1 and level 2 damage will be just fine. But again, everything here depends on the values of those furies and the values of physical vulnerability. Now, signature ability. Striking the opponent with a heavy attack or while their back is against the wall inflicts a slow debuff for 2 seconds, paused while Silk has a personal fury passive, or while the opponent remains against the wall. While this slow is active, during Silk's attacks, the opponent suffers minus X regeneration rate. So she could be potentially relatively reliable, slow champion, maybe. And additionally, could maybe be able to deal with regeneration, especially in combination with Despair and her physical vulnerability debuffs. But it definitely does sound quite interesting, I would say. It sounds like Black Widow, Deadly Origin-ish, Moondragon-ish type of situation, mixed with Mantis, I suppose. But it'll, again, all depend on the values and how well she comes together. Some interesting synergies here are listed as well, where Moondragon, when Psionic Transcendence ends, gain 5 Psionic charges. That I think is quite helpful for Moondragon. Moon Knight, well, nobody really cares. It does look quite cool. While under 2 bars of power, critical hits grant you some of your max power. That's quite cool, but, it's Moon Knight. Danny Moonstar, deal 20% of base attack as burst of energy damage each time the opponent misses. I don't think it's too strong. And Silk personal bursts of damage are multiplied by 20% of Silk's critical damage multiplier. This could be quite helpful. And here we have Silk special attack 2 inflicts stacks of webbing. Webbing falls off slowly as the opponent attacks and moves. For each stack of webbing, personal burst of damage gain X% potency. This could be nice for, like, by the looks of it, longer fights, because you can get up 10 stacks. And Spider-Man, the first time in each fight Spider-Man would be struck by a special attack, he gains 100% chance to evade the rest of the special attack. Kind of nice failsafe. There's also advertised special Easter eggs against Black Cat and against Spideys. But this is basically all that we know about Silk. Do not have her animations posted or, character model and stuff like that, but based on abilities, it does look quite interesting. Quite of an aggro science champion. And I like it. I do think she will be yet another science nuke type of champion with limited utility. Depends how potent is her, slow and the regeneration rate control. Because if those effects on her signature ability work well, she's going to be very popular champion in my opinion, especially if her damage output is high. Because slow and regen suppression are some of the most desired science champion abilities, I would say. On top of the fact that she would be fundamentally immune to buffs because she would not trigger dexterity, the precision from dexterity. It's kind of like this Shuri thing where she's technically not, buff immune, but in almost all of the instances, she will not be triggering buffs unless there are some nodes that put buffs on her. And yeah, the counter strike will be messy. I do think, however, she's going to be primarily an offensive champion. Additionally, we do have some hints about Kindred as well that I will be making a quick video about, because we do not have full ability description, but we do have some ability hints that are, in my opinion, worthwhile to discuss. But yeah, when it comes to Silk, and I really am over Spider-Mans in MCOC. I think we have more than enough. I think I'd be perfectly fine if we do not see a single new Spider-Man till end of this game. But when it comes to actually judging champion by abilities, it definitely looks interesting, where either she's going to be very good if her damage and furies and physical vulnerability numbers and everything else works fine, or if they are somewhat lackluster, then, not going to be as great. But based from what we see here, she will have kind of like a cool playstyle, and I definitely look forward to testing her out. Let me know what do you guys think about her abilities, and I will catch you guys soon. Bye! Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the